A happy Sunday, Smite fans, and what better way to round out the weekend than with the final day of Week 7 here in the SPL. The games we have on the slate for today, I think they might ride that same vein.
Yeah, honestly, they are just as close. Yeah, I mean, you get to see the team that took number one kind of by surprise with Sanguine earlier going up against Rival later, which there's a lot to be discussed in that set, but the first one is probably the one that's toughest for me to call because everybody's been escalating, everyone's been getting better, but SSG and Knights are probably the ones that deserve to be in that conversation the most from the way they've changed when they entered the SPL to where they are right now. Obviously, there's some big talk around Obey, but these two teams have been putting their nose to the grindstone.
I think this is a lot closer than maybe some of the votes go. SSG obviously coming into this one a little bit higher in the standings. Two teams on 3-game win streaks. Finch and Aggro, whose is going to break?
It's really annoying to deal with on the enemy team, even if he doesn't teleport to you. That slow really can annoy you and make it difficult to team fight through, so I think it's strong.
There's the last breath. Cubo Fred wants Nika, but Cheerio is here as well. They cannot find the execute as Nico takes Cubo Fred to Camelot to Avalon, but Cubo narrowly avoids death damage. Whipped right by his whiskers, not enough for the kill. Now it's Scary D who's in some trouble, but a good Cataclysm from Neomar prevents all the aggression, and this is where Paul could perhaps clean up. Point-blank damage on a Cheerio. 2 ticks get immuned, but it's not enough. First Blood comes in for the Knights, and they're still not done battling yet. Scary D still in some trouble as Nika finds the return kill.
Dardes still has enough mana to keep going a little bit further, but getting lower in that department. Hasn't finished off that Rod of Tahuti quite yet. So jungler for solo, but PK get that first blood. If Spacestation can get this blue buff invade, I think I like where they're at, but here comes Zap.
They already got the kill on the Neomar though, so even with Zapman showing up, it's still a relatively even fight. Raffer looking for the disengage and does make his way back out of there, so not bad by Spacestation at all to find that turnaround there, Aggro. Yeah, they gave up first blood, but 2 kills and the blue buff is a pretty good answer back. Are not afraid to get active here in the early game, but look at Spacestation sensing some weakness. Raffer aggressive, as are Dardes and Cheerio, and Cubo Fred takes a ton of damage. Back off, did a lot of the work, but it ends up going over to Dardes on this Aphrodite. Cubo Fred has to take another seat for 15 seconds. SSG are the aggressors. They're even invading blue again. Especially in a scenario where, as you said, she knows she's specifically trying to counter all in on one. Cheerio taking the duel up against Zapman, but so far Zapman coming out the better for it. Sends Cheerio basically running for his life, but Zapman still, even with that performance, a good bit behind Vote, who's under siege. It's Cubo Fred who drops some damage on him. Raffer responds with his ultimate, but really isn't able to find anything, but they continue the chase down. Cheerio with that Mystic Rush closes the gap, and Cubo Fred goes down. SSG now have gotten 4 kills in a row.
And look, this is dire already for Pittsburgh Knights, because this is exactly what can't happen to Fred, getting this far behind.
And Vote still trying to battle up against 2. Knows Neomar is low, but Zapman able to find the extra damage there in that 2v1. So Vote, I think, getting a bit caught off guard by the Living Nightmare, ends up getting punished. Now Raffer stuck in no man's land, and again, Neomar will be the bait, and how many will fall prey to that hungry allure? Instead, the kill goes the way of Paul as Raffer drops, and those 2 kills back for the Knights are good, but look at the charts, it really didn't pull things back that much. Into Neomar essentially for free. Red buff spawning shortly. They want to be in position for that. Dardes rotating in as well. No beads available for Paul, so he's got to be careful. They're just going to all-in commit onto Neil. He makes it to the CC immune part of the ult, and Raffer doesn't find anyone with his ult, and Dardes is suddenly low. Cubo Fred gets the kill. Mystic Rush does get the kill on the Neomar in the back line, so it's 1-for-1, but mid lane for support can't feel good. And now Cheerio is low too. Zapman hides in the wall, and Paul gets the kill before Cheerio can escape. Cubo Fred jumps in, gets knocked up, but Zapman finds the kill, and suddenly the Knights have turned this game around entirely on its head. So if the Knights or Space Station are looking to try and step on the gas, this would be a good time. Paul wants to get aggressive. Cataclysm dropped into Dardes. Zapman here too, and the Taiko drums have to be the big difference maker, but they don't find a lot. Cheerio now diving with a Paul in the back, but he can't stick around. But now that Dardes is out of cooldowns, it's Cubo Fred's time to shine. Drops the last breath on him. There will be no healing, and Dardes somehow barely survives it. That means Cubo Fred's mission is not a success. The Knights have to fully retreat as SSG survive.
But I love the way that PK plays around that Aphrodite, even with the fact that they're going to struggle against it composition wide. Good cleanup kill by Raffer, knowing just how much damage he would do.
With the Fire Giant as the best objective on the map. They'll take the tier 1 tower, but there's a skirmish happening in mid. Cheerio thinks he can get this solo kill onto Paul, but Paul has backup. Cubo Fred locks Cherry down and gets the kill with a little bit of help from Neil Ma. So an overstep by SSG in that middle lane on what looked like a good setup.
He's going to dive into that back line, and he's got to kill Dardes in as few autos as possible.
Very, very low and controlled by Spacestation so far. Ultimate is enough. Spacestation able to secure the objective. Can they continue to fight? Zatman in trouble. He's in the grasp of Nika, brought back down, and still has to ult just to find a way out. Looks like he'll come towards the back end of the fight. There just weren't any safe options, and Vote ends up getting the kill. Paul in trouble in right as well. Aegis buys him a second, but Nika has plenty of time to wait. A big 3-man stun from Scary, but nowhere to go with that fatal strike. Good shockwave from Neilma will buy a little bit more time, but Space Station are unyielding in the late game as they continue to swarm, collapsing onto Scary D and finding their third unanswered kill.
Dardes here with Cherio. Those two become a pretty unstoppable force, but it looks like they're going to group up with the rest.
Yeah, and I don't know that the Knights quite fully recognize yet that it's going to be a full 5-on-5 here in left. Good ultimate from Raffer, pushes 2 back, and Paul falls early. They've already grabbed the left side Phoenix as well, and Space Station at this point can continue to dive in. Good 2-man stun from Scary, slows down the aggression a bit, but SSG really did not have to use a whole lot on the left side Phoenix. They're still plenty equipped to take down this mid Phoenix as well, so Nika tries to keep Scary D out, but they have locked down Dardes a bit on his own on this left side, but they don't want to commit. Space Station are still close enough to provide him support.
Doesn't have a linked target though, and I feel like that's where you have to try and really punish him, but Kiss comes up, Dardes decides to surge forward all on his own.
Yeah, they never step on the gas, so Space Station do it for him. Raffer is in that execute threshold at the back of the fight, but still holding on to it is the Knights. There's the fatal strike, but it doesn't find a target. Instead, Nika is the one collecting skulls, and SSG starting to threaten the game end, but they have to fall back. Too many members of the Knights are up, and they don't feel confident in the damage for now. Vote is way on the front line of the fight. It's a work, and Zapman gets locked down. Cheerio gets the kill. Now it's Neil Ma who's falling into the wood chipper. A 3-man cataclysm for him will be a swan song, as Space Station Gaming should be able to collect game number 1. A double for Dardes to seal it.
Well, let's see if Cubo Fred can forge the Nike into victory and get the Knights back into this set in game number 2.
And that's exactly, this is the type of draft I love to see from Space Station. Everyone's on one of their comfort picks, but Cheerio not looking comfortable because he's getting shoved towards the tower. Nike shield, by the way. That does that pretty well, and it cleans up first blood for Pittsburgh Knights.
Yeah, not bad out at all there for Cubo Fred. Got to a good start. He might not be done. Dardes is in some trouble. Cubo Fred gets another kill, starting the Knights off much better here their second time around.
And now that opens up these invades because Paul's clearing better than he would have before. And he has more MP5 than he would have if he had just rushed those boots.
It is indeed the red buff invade. Neilma's already used the flop. The abduct cancels out the belch. And looks like the red buff was defended. Zatman barely gets the airstrike off in time, avoids that last auto, and now Cubo Fred has a Vote with no mana, a bit of a sitting duck. Good beats to get away from the slow, but with this rotation coming in, only Raffer can save him. A great Scarab's Blessing means that Vote will indeed survive, despite him looking to be dead to Rights. The Knights have to leave with no kill to speak of.
Then Cheerio's in a really bad spot, and this Nike jungle just kind of does that pressure very well.
Oh, Cheerio's behind, though. This could be a good fight for Space Station if he can capitalize off this positioning. Mystic Rush keeps him close to Paul, and he does better than stay close, gets the kill, and the Scarab's Blessing means he can keep on going for the double. Cubo Fred does push him underneath the tier 1, and allows him to get the return kill, but Dardes makes it a 3-for-1. That's a huge fight for SSG.
If Dardes wants to stay, Pittsburgh Knights are perfectly fine with that outcome. They get to kill him.
Raffer's in some trouble in mid, has to use the Scarab's Blessing on himself, but it does get the revive, and Cheerio again has the dive onto Paul, but this time it goes a lot worse, and they do not have that Scarab's Blessing to bail out these low HP targets. Cubo Fred gets one, and Terry D ends up getting the other. It's Cheerio that falls. The Knights find the perfect answer back. They stretch the map first to set up for the Fury, and then they come back in a collapse on Cheerio when the dive on the Paul happens. And I think the 20% CDR for Bacchus in particular, like you mentioned, certainly doesn't feel bad. Neil puts that to work with an Intoxicate at the start of the fight. But the dive on the backline from Cheerio is on to Paul. But at this point, I just don't think he can get the work done on his own. That's why Nika's coming in to pick up the mantle. Lord of the Afterlife for that anti-heal should make this dive a lot stronger. But Nika's a man on a mission alone. And Paul has 3 members here to back him up. So what's going on in the 4v1 in the back? How are the rest of Space Station not winning it? Finally, Cheerio gets that kill, but Cubo Fred gets another one. Nika finally succumbs to 3 members worth of pressure, but Zapman's found a kill of his own here too. Space Station cannot make this dive onto Paul work.
7,000 healing done already for him. That number's going to get higher pretty quickly as he continues to get more and more power in the build.
Not quite fair, I suppose, to call it a 4v2 there in the back line when Cheerio was the first part of the dive, but Vote is the one that's in trouble now. The knockup is there. A second knockup comes through as he continues to be pushed and slid across the map. It's a kill for Cubo Fred, but Nika has TP'd back in. Rapper here with the ranged root as well, and suddenly Cubo Fred is in a whole heap of trouble. It's the Kepri Claws that find that last kill there with the auto. Don't get a ton of those, but Rapper is on the board, and Space Station, even though they're up against this hell, even though things haven't been going well, they're finding these small bits and pieces to keep them in this game.
Really not a god that you really feel like you have the anti-heal on the other side. Wonder if that's just all he had the gold for and they wanted to get out on the map as soon as possible and pull that pyro.
A bit of an odd skirmish here in mid. Neomont has already dropped the Intoxicate early as Rapper abducted Cubo to stop his follow-up, but Scary D now here. And suddenly Space Station not in the best position for this fight, but Cubo Fred is low and has already used Sentinel Azus. Cheerio looking for the dive on the backline yet again, gets the kill onto Cubo Fred. Now Paul is low. They get the kill thanks to both. They drop the Scarab's Blessing onto Nika so he can keep up this chase. It's a 3-for-1 suddenly in favor of SSG, but just Scary D and Zapman left. Space Station can collect a lot on the back of this.
He was standing all the way near his tier 1 tower where it once stood in the mid lane, but SSG not willing to commit yet.
Was that the abduct from Rapper? I think that's why the all-in commit is here from the Knights. They force the Scarab's Blessing to be used on the Kepri itself, and Dardes takes a ton of damage in the back line. Again, Rapper too far forward and might have cost his team a bit, but they've gotten good damage onto Neil. Perhaps as Space Station can capitalize on this fight. After all, Cheerio wants the dunk onto Paul, who we already covered, doesn't have any relics, and it absolutely works. Paul falls right away. Now it's Nika's turn to get aggressive. They want Neil Ma in the back, who also is low on CDs. Nika gets yet another kill. They force Cubo Fred to jump away, who no longer has the Sentinel Azus, and the collapse underneath the tier 2 tower can happen. A good Bleak allows Cubo Fred to escape, and SSG not done with this fight yet, but Boat is suddenly in trouble in the back. Scary D is diving on top of the Hou-Yi all alone.
But Zap's right there to support him a little bit. Good crits coming from him, and all of a sudden the duo lane from Space Station's dead. Nika soon to be next. No ultimate for him for a little bit. Oh, an odd series of events. Teams just picking bad fights, overextending.
So they can start this fight up here around the Fire Giant, and Space Station are looking a bit worse for wear. Scary D zones Dardes out, and Cheerio the only one with steal potential. He's got the Mystic Rush, but now that the Knights know he's here, they're not going to lower it too much, and Dardes all alone in tier 2 was never going to survive. So he just looks for the dive onto Zapman and brings him down low, gets the relics out from him, gets the kill too. That's not bad. Even has the Scarab's Blessing so he can come in and die and force that reset, but the Fire Giant's still low. Knights going to do everything they can to all-in commit. Vogue gets the kill onto Scary D, and the Knights do get the Fire Giant, but it doesn't go on to Zapman or to Scary as Cheerio increases the price for that FG. Just because they're strong against the defense, what does their actual engage look like? Well, against Nika, it looks strong. Yes, he's Lord of the Afterlife over the wall, but Cubo Fred drops the Sentinel Azus. This is a misplay from Nika to get isolated alone here on the mid lane, and the Pittsburgh Knights capitalize very well.
But the big deal was that they got Vote's ultimate out. That's the best defense tool.
Cheerio blinks in. Zapman is low. They switch targets off of Paul. They're just going to say, what if we don't give him anyone to heal? They take care of Neil Ma as well. So those other two who are off on the 3-2 do find that mid-Phoenix. Paul even gets the kill into Cheerio. That's huge that he finds that turnaround play. But what about Cubo Fred? He's in a tough spot here on the right-hand side. If Space Station can find the cutoff, this is an excellent kill to grab. But Space Station somehow found a way to turn this fight around.
Cubo's bead's already on cooldown, nowhere for him to go now. With Raffer here, this is an abduct away from a guaranteed kill. Big meaty claws secure another kill for Raffer, and that evens us up at 15 each. But
around the Fire Giant has so much riding on it for both these squads. Rapper goes in first, the abduct onto Scary D. Cheerio blinks in and just takes a fistful of damage, but it still works. They get rid of Zapman early on. The Scarab's blessing means he can stick right onto Paul, but now that it's run out, Cheerio's in no man's land, but they blow up Cubo Fred on his dive. Yes, they lose Cheerio, but he sets up for a 2-for-1. Plus, look at the wreck that is the Knights team that's left behind after the fight. They pull Neo Maw back in. It's too much damage from the wood chipper. That is Boat. SSG with the target swap over to Zapman have now won 2 fights in a row. The Knights don't really have anything that counteracts that extra pressure they're going to have to deal with from these fire minions, but that's huge from Cubo Fred. He's winning the 1v1 up against Cheerio, forcing the blink out from him defensively, and Cubo still has his. In fact, Cubo Fred will be able to rejoin this fight a lot sooner. Blinks in Sentinel Azus. Vote gets the kill onto Neil Maw, and Cubo Fred has 2 members slowed in the back, but he hasn't actually got any damage on any of the relevant members. And where is Scary D in all of this? He's just over on the right, not doing much. Now he's TPing in to try and join up here with this match. They need the help badly. Space Station are starting to find ways to turn this fight around. Big knockup comes through. Scary D has taken 1 member up to the air, but as soon as he lands, the damage is there. Space Station still hold on to all their members. Or Dardez, but they're still going to start up the Fire Giant. The Knights are on their way in, and that should be enough to reset the aggro. Neo Maw gets in aggressively, but gets abducted right away by Rapper. That's enough to stall out this fight, but Scary D is diving for Vote, forcing the Sunbreaker out, and the damage continues. Neo Maw flops on the back line of Dardez, but Rapper is in trouble. Zapman is the one that collects. Cheerio in trouble in the back as well, and Cubo Fred gets that critical kill. The Knights now in the best position they've been in 20 minutes.
Mika in an awful spot. He's going to get killed here. 3 for nothing. And who cares about the health bars here for PK, because they're all going to be full awfully soon, courtesy of Paul's Hell.
And this could very well be the game. Dardez and Vote have way too tall of tasks to try and accomplish with only 1 ultimate between the 2 of them. Mid-Phoenix goes down. This is the one they already grabbed earlier, and Dardez and Vote can't even make it into the fight. Scary D has Dardez in trouble. In fact, it's Vote that falls first. The Dia side is not far away here once Dardez collapses. That's the Knights forcing us all the way to a game 3.
Man, was that tough, though, because it's just some really good play by Cheerio and Dardez. Dardez did nearly 40k player damage this game, and his scoreline doesn't really reflect how impactful he was.
There's plenty of potential there for the Knights, but can they capitalize? We'll have to go down to game 3 to find out.
And I love to see no healers, personally. That's definitely what I prefer to see, but Vote's going to be in some trouble here. Good dash in from Zap, gets the beats, but here comes Cheerio.
If they overcommit, it could be trouble. I don't think Cheerio got the knockup, but I also don't think that it's going to matter. Space Station able to get first blood off that early rotation from Cheerio and off the purple buff pressure. Not an easy pull. Raffer fully zoning Cubo Fred out of this fight, but is that all in service of trying to get this blue buffle to collapse onto Rapper? Is on. He pops like a balloon. Cubo Fred gets there first, but that's huge damage from Dardez, almost single-handedly turning this fight back around. That Discordia play was absolutely nuts. Now Cubo Fred has to run for the hills, but he's on the wrong side of the map, but if Mika chooses to turn back around after grabbing this blue buff, then Cubo Fred is in danger of trying to find his way out, but he is stuck engaged in this fight with Scary D around the blue buff, so Cubo Fred should be able to position safely. But still, Dart is outputting plenty of damage at this point.
Mika just a little bit short on that Fatal Strike damage, and now has to be concerned for his own life with Cuvo surging forward a bit, but Dardez still in tow, still pulling out plenty of damage in that 2v2.
Yeah, I wonder where Vote is in damage taken. I feel like he has been under 0 duress this game. No pressure has been put onto this Uller on the left-hand side of the map so far. As soon as I say that, suddenly there's 3 people over in left. Perhaps Vote is in a bit of trouble here this time. Has some backup, though, with Raffer and Cheerio over the wall. Good taunt from Cheerio. Forces the hand of that ultimate early. Uses the ultimate to get right through the Rivers of Buke and keep up the chase. Aegis buys Vote some time, and he ends up getting flattened. Zapman gets some much-needed revenge on the left-hand side of the map, and the Knights suddenly right back in it. Gold Fury now being pulled by the Knights, and Space Station shows up to defend. That's a great apple. Catches out Neilma, and Cheerio gets the kill, so they'll pull the Gold Fury right back. That was a huge fight for the Knights to get that pick on the Vote, but this is going to completely wipe all of that out, aggro. What a big sequence here from Space Station.
Pop off in these fights. It could also be a negative if you start to lose them.
Zatman evades it perfectly. You think he's used to a lot of pressure over in his lane just yet? Zatman with Iaijutsu stays calm and doesn't have to give up anything except the ultimate to get out. But Paul's in trouble. Nika's found him in the back line, but doesn't have enough damage to finish him off. The Fatal Strike finds nothing, so Neomar responds by putting the Scarab's Blessing on himself. But Cherio gets to the back line and completes the job onto Paul. Vote runs in and doesn't miss anything as he shuts down Neomar. Suddenly, it's a 2-for-0 for Space Station. And what do you know? It's the solo laner and the Hunter getting involved and turning the fight around. Looks like they are. Dardez is starting it up. I don't know if I love that. He trades it back over towards Cherio, so no harm, no foul. The Knights are now pushing their way in, but it's already too late. Primal Fury grabbed by Space Station, but the Knights want to at least make them pay. Good damage on the Cubo Fred on his way in. Means that now Cherio can look for the Nine Turns Blessing. It forces Cubo Fred to go into that ulti, but he's in execute threshold and has to leave. And Nika uses the Fatal Strike perfectly to collapse onto Scary D, and he's made his way into the back line, has another charge of that Fatal Strike if he wants to use it, and he will close the gap onto Paul. There's the Scarab's Blessing for some extra movement, and Paul believes in his turnaround potential, but has to use the Crushing Wave defensively in order to escape. Space Station win the fight cleanly.
And Vote still hunting Neil. Pin on the marks. Abduct is still up, and Neil around the wall, so no axe coming to that same team fighting prowess. And I think that Space Station's finally picking compositions that put them in a position to do what they do best.
Half HP already lost from Cubo Fred. It's even worse. He dies in the Colossal Fury as Space Station saw him trying to push up that right side wave the whole way. Another minute on this Fire Giant. No relics for Paul at all, so I doubt he even wants to be in this fight despite all their advantages. Strife misses, but Unruly Magic hits for 652. Dardez takes half his HP as well, but Nika doesn't look like he's been in a fight for the last 2 minutes. He's full HP, full mana, and ready to tussle. At this point, they drop the ultimate onto Scary D. That cripples him. They get the left side Phoenix, and they get the pick. Cherio can't find any knockups there, but they pull a couple members back out of the fountain. I don't even know if Space Station wants to reset. They've got minions coming in for every direction. They're just going to move on to the Titan, and the Knights have to find some kind of way to defend. Rapper and Nika are low, but the Titan takes too much damage. It's Space Station in 30 minutes that take care of this set.